All right, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a PCA Live. We're going to give you a little bit of a debrief and update on all the goings-on with some of our legal battles that we've been facing here recently on the court case, and also some of the other things that have been going on in the world of premium cigar advocacy. I'm Scott Pierce, the Executive Director of the Premium Cigar Association, and I'm joined here by Deputy Executive Director and Head of Government Affairs, Joshua Habersky. Josh, happy Thursday afternoon. Let's go ahead and dive into this and talk about some of the pressing issues that are going on right now, and update everybody on what's happening.
Yeah, no shortage of things popping up all around, states, federally, courts, Congress, the like. We've been really working hard this month on a variety of different projects, and some of them are coming to fruition. I know in our last monthly broadcast, we talked about previewing some of the things for the trade show and things to be on the lookout for. We wanted to report back on a few developments and some resources that have been created over the past month that our retailers and their consumers may or may not have seen. I'm going to start with the litigation. This is top of mind. Monday was oral arguments in Cigar Association versus the Food and Drug Administration. Are the oral arguments, which Greg Zimmerman and myself and Ryan Parada from our team were in person at the courthouse. The oral arguments just lasted about over 2 hours. This afternoon, literally 45 minutes ago, we put together some case notes from that. We released a statement on Monday, shortly after the oral arguments concluded, about some of the basics and the quote there that you provided, Scott, about kind of the totality of the situation. But for folks that may have noticed with PCA, we've been working very hard and diligent on making plain language communication so that it's easily digestible. These are complex issues, but it's a summary that you can understand by looking at it in 2 to 3 minutes, and is meant for people that have a firm grasp of the ins and outs of premium cigars, and then also people that are just the general public. So case notes that we released today, you'll find the arguments that were made by our counsel, Michael Edney, representing CAA, PCA, and CRA. And then you'll also see the arguments that the FDA was making. The case itself involves a challenge to the Deeming rule, and by way of the Administrative Procedures Act of being arbitrary and capricious. And you'll see those arguments kind of fully fleshed out in those case notes. Secondly, I want to move over to a lot of the discussion. This month was the release of the tobacco product standards for both menthol and flavored cigars. We released a blog post this week that basically calls the product standards a charade. It's a ban on flavored cigars. Let's call it what it is. So we released a blog post kind of providing some color commentary and challenging some initial arguments that were within those product standards rule. We are also working behind the scenes with stakeholders, industry allies, on putting together materials to educate folks, consumers and retailers, of the ramifications of these tobacco product standards, and also ways to get involved. I want to affirmatively state that PCA is engaging on this from a vantage point of retailer impact. How would this rule affect our brick and mortar retailers? How would this rule affect the industry at large? And so we will be filing a comment. I'm working with one of our counsel in drafting that comment, but we're also putting together materials where retailers will be able to engage and submit a comment to the public docket, raising some concerns. We're fleshing out our talking points right now. And we're also working with the folks at CAA and other industry partners in developing what the messaging is best to challenge the overall tobacco product standards. We will be launching a alert that retailers can share with consumers to also weigh in on this, and we will be conducting a survey of our membership to gauge the overall product impact and business impact to retailers. Our arguments against this, as I mentioned, first and foremost, North Star is retail impact, but we also believe that the FDA has failed on the science, and also that they have not considered the international impact nor the impact to minority-owned small businesses. So we are going to be reaching out to the Small Business Administration and other agencies to request additional information and economic impact. The last thing I want to call attention to is we had some statements about marketing and youth access. I know, Scott, you and Greg, your letter kind of ignited the signal of to the industry that this is going to be a focus, that this is going to be a priority, and something along the lines of what we're working on for Vision 50, our strategic plan for both state and federal advocacy. We are in the final steps of ironing out all the technical details for a code of conduct that's retail focused, that's strictly about youth access to tobacco products. We are proud to be a leading organization that asserts the fact that premium cigars are enjoyed by adults on an infrequent basis. That's what all the science indicates. That's all what the data indicates. It also, you see that youth are not purchasing these products. The FDA has even acknowledged that being the lowest enforcement priority. So we want to take that a step further, and we took what the NASEM, the National Academy of Sciences, said in their study, that there is no self-regulation or no self-policing that takes place in the premium cigar industry. And we know that that's not true, but we want to make sure that we call attention to those efforts. We are working with other industry partners. Again, this document is very retail focused. We will be releasing it and discussing this further at the PCA trade show, as well as some of our other government affairs content and information. I know that those are three very important topics. I'll go into some state stuff, but Scott, I don't know if you have anything you would like to add.
Yeah. So really, I think ultimately just the focus here on the takeaways for listeners is, when this information gets sent out, please do provide comments. Please do take the action. We do need the voices. We need the FDA and the regulatory bodies to hear the voice of the retailers, to understand exactly what that means for you, for your businesses. Understanding also, again, Josh's important points that we were making here that have been understood and have been heard, which is that there is not a youth access problem for premium cigars. And, I think that it's a very interesting conversation that we need to have. And another important reason why, we need retailer participation and attendance at our annual meeting this year is, talking about this government affairs forum and talking about kind of a town hall-esque way that we're going to approach these topics and discuss and get feedback from retail members. One of the major reasons for that, as we're looking at this, is a lot of stuff that we're talking about is a lot of stuff is done already. We know that we have very little infractions when it comes to youth access or selling underage in our stores. We've been very, very good at that. The problem is it's very difficult for us to make a case for that when we don't have an organized way of providing the data to the FDA. There's no codified system that then provides that information to the FDA. And NASEM, if that's effectively what they called out there. So what we are doing here as your association for brick and mortar retailers in the premium tobacco industry let's get all of this collected together. Let's now have the collective of the industry being able to provide the information and argument back to the FDA. That's really what the majority of the thrust of this is. And it's very, very similar to everything from the pharmaceutical industry to the Motion Picture Association, in how they've approached these very, very similar types of issues when regulatory agencies have tried to really ultimately step in and disrupt the way the business is done. So that's why we need the retailer participation in terms of our feedback, so that way we can get a really good, comprehensive, both understanding but also articulation of where we are at and what we are doing as an industry. And then that the guidelines really help in that regard, because it allows us to have the proper argument there.
And I want to make note of it that this has been a 3-month process of putting a lot of the details together. It's something that there has been a lot of focus on, and you've seen in other tobacco products have significant issues with the FDA, with regulators, and even with Congress. So this is a proactive step that the association needs to take. And we are going to be taking feedback through that and comments. So feel free to submit those to me, or call and discuss where things stand, where things are headed as it relates to our efforts to combat the perception of youth access to tobacco products. So the other thing that I do want to mention, Scott, is that on the states, we are also seeing that uptick on different last minute or late issues. I know Glenn is not on the broadcast here, but he's given me some updates. We still have active measures in Delaware, New York, California. In California, there's a referendum on flavored cigars, flavored tobacco products that we are engaged in. Here in the District of Columbia, there is a possibility of a flavor issue, or the flavor issue is being considered for budget enforcement. So it passed it passed the city council, and it was not funded. So that's where the stage we're at right now. And there was a preliminary vote that did have this measure funded, which would be a flavored tobacco ban. With all this stuff at the state level and the federal level as it relates to flavored cigars, the one thing that I would say is obviously, consult the local and state laws. There has been a few issues here and there, but as it relates to what's going on federally with the FDA, retailers should operate as business as usual. Nothing has changed. This is going to be a long process. We said that early on in some of the broadcasts talking about where things stand. So it's important to note that nothing has changed. You still are able to, sell any of those products, and it will be a long process that, we're going to wait. We'll provide frequent updates. That's why you saw the blog post this week. There's going to be a level of education and engagement that, we saw last year with the tax fight. We may have another small tax fight federally later this year, but we're prepared, we're equipped. And I would say, speaking objectively, the lines of communications with partner organizations are wide open, and we're engaging in productive conversations throughout the industry. And I see that Aaron has posted, some of the links to recent updates that we've made on the oral arguments, as well as the flavor roll. But we appreciate everyone's time. Glenn and I will actually be in South Florida this weekend, engaging with consumers, manufacturers, and retailers. Tomorrow we'll be in Little Havana, going to several different cigar shops, and I'm really looking forward to going to El Titan de Bronze. Glenn speaks very highly of that. And then Saturday, of course, we really want to thank our friends at Cigar Aficionado for allowing us to attend Big Smoke Meets Whiskey Festival. Really looking forward to having conversations and kind of continuing the conversations about the policy and advocacy topics that we mentioned today. Scott, I don't know if you have any final thoughts.
No, Orlando, I wish the piano behind me was real, but it's a fake one, just like my piano skills. It's a fake background, so you don't have to see the plain white wall behind me. Figure to give you guys something more interesting background to look at here. But Orlando, if we have a piano somewhere around the trade show and you're there, buddy, let's go ahead and we'll see you tickle the ivories for us. And Micah, I'm not entirely sure what you're referring to there, but if you want to give us a call, we're happy to have any kind of conversation about whatever issue that I don't know what you're really talking about. But feel free to give us a call. So anyway, thanks for everybody. And I hope everybody has a very enjoyable and safe Memorial weekend and enjoys lots of premium cigars. So thanks a lot.